Nice to see you, folks. Looks like we got folks coming into the chat. Nice to see you all. Hope y'all are doing good. Going to be an interesting chat tonight. We have a lot to talk about. I know what's on a lot of your minds, and we'll get to that, I promise. Want to start off and say tonight's beer, happy St. Patrick's Day. This is my red ale from County Cork that I homebrew. So here's to you all. That said, if you have questions, just hold them a little bit. I'm going to comment just a little bit before we get going. And when you do, hit those double question marks so I can see it right off the bat. If you want to support the channel, the super chat is open. You can make donations, but if you're going to donate to the channel, and I very much appreciate it, make sure you ask your question, and I'll make sure that I answer it then when I see it. You got to get something for your donation, so I want to make sure you guys get something out of it. So let's start with what I'm not going to talk about, and that's Tyreke Hill. I saw a lot of you were talking about it before. I just don't know anything. I don't know anything more than you do. I don't know anything that isn't in the police report. So I really don't have anything to tell you. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what they're going to do. And I don't personally want to speculate. Four roses. Ryan Stang, I like where you're going. Kenny Slavens, how are you? I see a lot of friendly faces in here. I can't name them all. Chris, Jerry, Steve, tons of you. I appreciate it. So I'm not going to get into Tyreke tonight because I just don't know enough to do it. When there is, we will have a podcast all about it. I will do a video or at least another Q&A about it when we know what's going on. But we're going to let the police do their job. I have friends in the Overland Park Police Department, and I know they're working hard on it. So they won't tell me a thing about it, but I know they're working. So let them do their job. When they have something to say, then we'll have something to comment on, and I promise you I'll do that. So that said, we'll start talking some football. So first and foremost, I think that I like what they did with Bashaud Breeland. And I was a little iffy last season. That whole, hey, come on in, we'll show you everything, we just don't care. And then, oops, he's out of town. Clearly, from what we saw from Terez and a couple other sources, the Chiefs wanted to do a one-year deal with him last season, and he wasn't having it. So he held out. The Chiefs moved on, and they had to make progress. And so he ended up getting that one-year deal, and now he's back in the same position. I like it. So clearly there was a connection there. I think he and Fuller have that connection from when they were in Washington, and I think that helps. I think he's an upgrade in coverage, especially over Scandrick and probably over Nelson as well. If nothing else, he's got more length and more height, and I think that's where Steve really struggled. So that's an automatic upgrade there because just physically he's better able to combat some of the bigger receivers in the AFC West in particular, but across the AFC as well. So I think that's a good thing. Been a lot of rumors, a lot of CBs, a lot of safeties. If you guys missed the video on Tyrann Mathieu, Tyrann, I don't know how to say his name. And honestly, I think Brett Veach pronounced it two different ways in his press conference too. So Tyrann is how I'm going to think. I think I'm going to go with that. Tyrann until he tells me different. Maybe I'll get to talk to him someday. So I think he's interesting. I think they had a target on him, and I think it was a good choice. I've been telling you guys for weeks and months, if you've been listening to the podcast, all about how Earl Thomas is such a fit at the backside of the defense. And Tyrann Mathieu is the perfect guy to pair with him because he can do the slot, he can do the strong, he can come up and play the robber, all those things that I showed you in that video. Man, and more faves, no. I'm not going to call him Badger. So it's just one of those deals. I want to let the guy grow out of that. You know what I mean? I'd be tired of it if it was still my nickname too. But that would have been a perfect pairing, and I'm really upset that the Ravens decided at the last minute to jump in there. But they went into panic mode when they lost Mosley. I think they expected to get him back, and right away they had to go after him, especially having already lost Weddle. So they were in a tough spot, and I can understand where the Ravens are coming from. So they upped that offer, and they ended up getting him. It's too bad, but there are other guys out there that they can pair with. We'll talk about that in a while. Brian Gooch, thanks for your donation. Do we still do more in free agency or maybe cook, or do we wait for the draft? I think there's still stuff out there. I think particularly at free safety, Trey Boston's one guy I would be talking to. They didn't look at him last year. I think maybe they're going to come around on that. They're definitely turning over all the rocks that they can find. They looked at Denard. They looked at Darby. I haven't heard anything about Denard signing. He might still be in Kansas City right now for all of that I know. We'll find out. So, but I do think that they still have more to do. But Brian, thanks for your donation, and we'll see what happens. Cool Mars, thank you as always. Ask a question though, man. I'm trying to give you value here, man. Kyle K, who do you want the Chiefs to trade for? I mean, there's so much speculation about the trades that they could pull off. Personally, I'm a Pat Peterson guy. I think another LSU DB out there, even though he's an older guy, and granted, he is an older dude, I think he would fill out this defense in a way that could really make them good against the pass coverage. And that's clearly what they seem to be moving to. Let's cover better from the back and worry about the pass rush, and we'll get creative with stunts and blitzes, etc. So, Kyle, that's what I would do. Dylan, how many picks? Nobody picks up Justin Houston. Will he come back on an affordable contract? I don't think so. I think bridges are burned for Barry, for Houston, for Ford. There's no chance of any of them coming back, I don't think. Man, it's a tough situation. Justin Houston is my favorite current Chief, or has been for the last couple of years. So it's a tough one for me, and I don't tend to get very emotional. Chris and I got into a big debate on the podcast about Barry. It's just hard to move on from elite talent like that, even if they're not performing at elite levels anymore. So I think what the administration, what Veach and the leadership decided is, we're going to move this defense in a total new direction. We're just going to start over. So they did. Are there any fast or big wide receivers that can get in the draft, or maybe free agents? Mike Hall, good question. There's a ton. The smaller, speedier guys are actually pretty available in this draft in the mid round. So I expect them to do that. There's been a whole lot of speculation about going offense or defense early. And I think there's value to be had at the wide receiver and the tight end spots in, say, round 3, maybe even 4, because I expect the Chiefs to move around. And even though they don't have a 4th round pick right now, I expect them to have one by the time the draft is over. So look for that to happen. Let's see. I'm just going to start going through all your questions. If I miss you guys, come back to me, because this stuff scrolls so fast. Sometimes I miss quite a bit. I got that one. Ethan Hunt, Preston Smith, a possibility at inside linebacker. I think the Chiefs like their backers. They're going to let Reggie Ragland play that middle, and they're going to give him a shot. I think that Hitchens is probably overmatched playing Will, but he did it some in Dallas, so they're going to give him a shot. I don't know if they're trying to save Dorian O'Daniel for more of a safety role, a strong kind of thing. If they have to do that, if they have to leave Mathieu at the back of the defense, which he can do, if you move Dorian O'Daniel into more of a strong safety, I think you're still in pretty good shape. So I think, again, the Chiefs have emphasized versatility over the last few years. I think that's going to pay off for them, because if they can't get the guy that fits exactly where they want, they missed on Earl. They wanted Earl. They didn't get him. So now you got to adjust. And having guys that are versatile, that can do multiple things, is going to help you in the long run. We'll go down this list. You guys got a lot of good questions. Remember, hit me with double question marks in the beginning so I can identify your questions a little bit faster. Love where you guys are going with this. Man, you guys are all over the place. Yeah, Darby did go to Philly. I saw that. Do we pick a safety in the first round? I don't think so. I don't think the top 2 guys are going to be there. And honestly, I don't know that Deontay Thompson's actually a top 2 guy anymore. I think it's corner or edge or receiver is what it is. But it all depends on the Veach board. My board's going to look different, and I will have my board out at least a week before, maybe hopefully 2 weeks before. Depends how good I get at crunching some film on guys. And I don't watch film like actual draft analysts. I watch a couple of games and I'm done. And I read scouting reports, as though I were a GM, because I don't have time to watch every prospect. It's just the way, I got a day job and everything else. So there's a lot to it. Jeff Jenkins, do we trade for John Ross? No. John Ross is Sammy Watkins times 10. I don't know that John Ross is ever going to stay healthy. Love him coming out of Washington. And those of you that have followed me for a long time, you know that I'm a fan of the Washington Husky program. And I think particularly their defensive backs and Coach Lake, I think they do a great job. But I don't think I would go near John Ross. How do you feel about Bashaud Breeland? J-Dub, thanks for the question. And I didn't get into that enough. Yes, he's an upgrade over Nelson. Like I said, I like his length. I like his aggression. I like that he's got a partner in crime in Fuller that he's familiar with. And I think that depending on which way Steve Spagnuolo goes, whether he wants to be really aggressive with pressing more or if he wants to lay off in more zone, because he's done zone quite a bit as well, I think that Breeland's going to be a guy that can accomplish the goals. And so I'm comfortable with that. I don't think they're done. I think Breeland is a number 2. I think Fuller is a slot guy. Set him aside. I don't want him outside because he's too good inside. I think Ward needs to be a 3. So I still think you're looking for a number 1 corner, probably in the draft. Fat check. Can they trade for Jalen Ramsey? They can. I don't think the Jags are going to give him up for at least a number 1, if not a 1+. And I don't think the Chiefs want to do that. I think Brett Veach is finally happy to be back on top of his draft picks with a 1 and a 2, multiple 2s in the next 2 years. And I think he's trying to think ahead. I think that's why he's letting all these older players go and trying to start over so he can think forward. So I don't see them giving up a whole lot. They might give up their 1 and one of their 2s to move up in this draft, but I don't think they're going beyond that. Yes, Jordy has had some interest. I have heard that as well. Justin Robertson, I don't have any update on Denard. I'm not excited about Denard. He's had a really underwhelming career since college. So I'm just kind of right now. So we'll see. Beyond that, Jordy, for K-State fans, I can see why you guys want him back completely. Now, I'm a KU guy, but I appreciate what Jordy Nelson does. Has he lost a step? Yes. Let's be honest. Jordy Nelson has lost a step, but he can play in that slot. And I still feel like he's got enough to offer. It'd have to be pretty cheap. That's the thing. But I think he could do it. So if they end up signing him, more power to him. A guy with experience, a guy that's crafty, can help Pat Mahomes. Let's see. Who's next? Picking up Tyrann Mathieu. Jason Austin, picking up Tyrann Mathieu. Thoughts about Armani Watts playing free safety? I think it's an option. I don't know that they trust it. I think Armani would have if he played a whole season last year. But his development got cut short, and that's a serious thing to take into consequence because you're in that Super Bowl window. I think he's a great backup. I think, honestly, Armani Watts would be my choice for the 3rd safety. And I'm ready to move on from Dan Sorensen now that Matthew's in the fold. But that said, they got to get somebody at the deep end. Do we pick up a DE or a safety in the 1st round of the draft? Alejandra Reyes. Thank you. It's nice to see a lady on the channel. Appreciate the question. I think that's what it comes down to. Edge rusher or cover guy. That's what it comes down to. And whoever is highest on their draft board is who they go for. And I know that how you set your board up is different for every team, but I think that Brett Veach definitely has guys that he likes better than others, and he will stick to his board. And that's what's going to be important. Kyle K, second question, and thanks for the donation. Do you think Travarius Ward is a CB1? No, I don't. I think he's CB4. And I know everybody likes him, and he did play well down the stretch when they needed him, but he's still got some shortcomings, and he's got film that he's putting out there. So I do feel like they need to upgrade, and I want to see him and Fuller be the guys that go inside when they go into those spread formations. So that's what I'm looking for. Am I concerned at all about the backfield, Ray Booth? No, I'm not. I like Darrell Williams. I think the Hyde pickup is great because he's not going to be the primary back, and he can come in and do what he does well in relief. He is injury prone. He'll probably get injured, but not relying on him as your primary, I think, is the way to go. And I think it's a great addition. Ryan, who fits the new scheme better, Ragland or Hitchens? Hitchens can play more coverage. He has more range. I don't think he's a will, but I do think he fits the scheme better. Reggie played on 3-4 in college. He struggled in the 4-3 in Buffalo and then got a new beginning in Kansas City. It's going to be a challenge for him. But if they're not going to run the Tampa 2, where Reggie, as the middle linebacker, has to get like 15 yards of depth, he's going to be okay. If Reggie can play 8 yards and closer to the line of scrimmage, Reggie's going to be okay. And you saw down the stretch at the end of the season, Reggie Ragland made a couple of nice interceptions in coverage. So he can do it. It's just he can't get deep into the curls and he can't get deep down the middle. He's got to be in the shorter range. And if you can steady your defense around that and use better athletes to cover the middle ground, shorten that zone for Reggie Ragland, I think he can be your Mike, and I think he can be successful. He's got to get a little bit tougher. He should be a tough guy against the run. He's got to come in like a hammer on these running downs, though. Next up, would you give up for Patrick Peterson if available? I'd give up a second for Pat right now. I would trade ones for a high second with a team, maybe next year. I don't think the Cardinals want to move on from Pat. I think they didn't get enough value. They probably want to win this season, even though they have enough. I don't think you're going to see Pat Peterson go. That's just my thought. Let's see here. Who's next? Myron. Oh, no, that was Myron's question. Good job, Myron. Low lib. We should not trade a second to move up. Agree or disagree? No, I think you do. I think you have that for a reason. You're sitting at 29. If you can throw in 63 and move up to 15, you can get either a cover guy or an edge rusher and help yourself out quite a bit. I do think that second round pick is up for grabs. Curtis. No, shoot. I just scrolled too far. This is tough, folks. I got to say, it is tough to scroll on here. What's the think the biggest need is? I think it's edge rusher right now. I like the Okafor signing, but I think he's a first and second down guy. I don't think he's a premier pass rusher. So I want to see more of that. Jeremy Olson, Jordy's on the comeback. Oh, answered your question already. Sorry. Lucas Kinsey, who's your favorite edge that we can realistically trade up for? Here's my thing. I think Josh Allen is not going to go as high as everybody else thinks. Josh Allen doesn't play the run particularly well. I'm going to show you guys later as we get closer to the draft how tight ends from Georgia block the crap out of him. So Josh Allen can speed rush. He can cover really well too, but I don't think he's a complete pass rusher. I think the league is going to drop him out somewhere between 8 and maybe 12, 15 at the bottom. Maybe you can get up and get Josh Allen. Otherwise, I don't think you need to trade around. I think you're going to get somebody like Cleveland Farrell or Montez Sweat. You're going to have options at pass rusher, probably at 29. Definitely if you go up to like 22. So that's what I'm seeing. Jarek Terajoke. I don't know. I hope I said that close. Sorry. Who plays center next year? Austin Raiders going to play center. I don't think they're going to bring anybody in. I think they're happy with him, and I think he can do a good job. He proved it. Right. Got that one. Okay, good question. Adam Daughtry. Does Trevin Smith still return for us this year? Yeah, because I don't think he's ready to play corner. So I'm pretty comfortable saying he's going to be the return guy. Sorry, folks. Got calls coming in. Things are happening. I don't know what they are yet, but I'll tell you afterwards. So, yeah, I think Trevon Smith's going to be your returner. Questions. Hit the question marks, remember, at the beginning. Tone B. Oh, wait. Golden Pay Dirt. Hey, I'm glad you made it in. I appreciate the donation, and next time ask a question, brother. I will definitely answer it. You've been a great contributor to this channel, and I appreciate all your time. Would like to get Ramsey or John Ross. I don't think you're going to get either of them. I think the price is just too high in a trade. Tone B, coming back to your question. What's the deal with Byron Pringle? I think Pringle's got a lot of upside, and I think he's got a lot of potential. You didn't see him play a single meaningful snap, though. So projecting him to be somebody you can rely on this coming season is a stretch. Could he be the number 5? Could he be the number 6? Easily. I think they like Dieter as well, and I think you're going to see both of them make this roster, this 53-man, and I hope that they get a shot. But right now, number 3, they're both a long ways from, and I think they need a number 3. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Demarcus Robinson to be number 3 consistently, particularly when Sammy Watkins could go down, if the wind blows the wrong direction. And nothing against Sammy. He's just a guy that he's got a lot of injury issues. I think his heart's in the right place. I think he wants to be a go-to guy for this offense. I think he's just got to overcome his own physical limitations. Harmon, thank you for your comment. Jason Austin, with the signing of Mathieu. Oh, I talked about Armani Watts. Sorry, I should have read that better. I think Armani's going to be a quality backup. He might be the number 3 going into this season. If not, they might let him play free, but I don't think that's really good for this defense right now. Kyle, I answered your question. Jacob Forbes, thanks for the donation. I appreciate that. Is there any benefit to releasing Justin and Barry instead of trading them for an unequal value? You know, and that was my big complaint, is you didn't get enough for them. They're both elite players at one time. They've both fallen off of that. But the truth is the truth. And Chris Clark and I got into it on the Locked On Chiefs podcast. If you missed that, go back and check it out. It's on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. And in the end, Chris was right. They couldn't get value for him. Nobody was offering them enough for either Justin Houston or Eric Berry for them to make the trade and make it worth it. So I think in deference to both those players and able to go negotiate their next contract with a team on their own and get what they want and choose where they go, I think the Chiefs released them both because they couldn't get value, but also to try and be respectful to those players as well. Kenny Slavens, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Seriously, ask a question. Going down the list. Okay. Matt Waldman is the best choice. Yeah. Matt Waldman's good, Cheech. I'm with you. Roanoke. Jalen Ferguson in the draft, 65 tackles. Yeah, he's interesting. He didn't get invited for kind of a ticky-tack thing that happened, I think, his freshman year or whatever. I think he's got some potential. He's not super bursty and he's not super strong. He's kind of in the middle. I think he's probably a late second or an early third round guy. And I think the Chiefs have a chance at getting him. I think he's somebody that could supplement what Speaks and Okafor and whoever else they get is doing. So we'll see what Spags thinks. And I think that's going to be the determining factor, whether they put him high on the board and they want to go after him or not. Next, did Darby fail the physical? From what I understand, it's not that he failed the physical. It's that his recovery is in such a place that he's going to miss all of camp. He's going to miss all the preseason games, and he might even miss regular season games. And for the Chiefs in this Super Bowl window, they can't take a chance on that. So Darby just wasn't progressed far enough along, even though they knew about his injury. So that's why he got a 1-year deal to go back to Philly and continue to rehab, and they'll get something out of him. So good for him. It was just a bad situation for timing, really. Moving on, Byron Murphy, Harmon. That's a very good question. Byron is my top corner right now on my board. But I will say this. I want to qualify that because all the top 3 and even the second tier, the next 3 or 4 guys, they're all very specific to a scheme. And Byron Murphy plays better in zone. He's not a man guy. Byron Murphy's the best zone corner in this draft, and Greedy Williams is the best man corner in this draft. But he won't tackle against the run. So there are drawbacks all the way around. It all depends on what Spags wants to do and how they're going to set up the defense. I think they need to play press man and be really aggressive with their corners. I don't know if Spags agrees with that or not. We're going to find out, probably not until they draft somebody, but by who they draft, we'll be able to make that determination. Good question, though. Vincent Martinez, yeah, that's not so awesome. Hey. Next question. Have you looked at the running back from Memphis? Just a little bit. Running back is not high on my list. The running game is important. The running back is not to me because there's a lot of ways to skin a cat with a running back. I like power backs. I like eye backs. I like scat backs. There's a kid from Washington State named Williams, another Williams, that I think could really make some noise because I like his burst and acceleration. You could pick him up in probably the 5th or 6th round. So I'm not too worried about the running back position. Dude Bassett, why do I never see questions you're answering? Oh, sorry, man. They go by fast, like I said. That's all right. I'm sure I missed a ton of questions. Hog Farmer, Sherm will be back, but I think he'll be late, just like last season. But I do think they want him back. Who should be our slot receiver? Peyton Goss. I like that question. Who should be the slot receiver? I don't think you're going to see Dat back. I don't think you're going to see... Demarcus Robinson can do it. He can play all three positions, but I don't think he's best at it. And I want to see them attack that position in particular, especially with all the question about Tyreke Hill. I think you want somebody really fast. You want somebody really shifty. Somebody that can do the pivot routes and the cut routes like Edelman. Paris Campbell, Andy Isabella. There's a number of them, even Penny Hart. I mean, there's a number of guys all up and down the draft. I think they will fill that in the draft somewhere. And I don't know if that's their particular need, but I think that's what this team needs. That was a good question, though. I appreciate that, Peyton. Saw that one, got that one. Do you think Travis Collar, good question, do you think they should trade for DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys? He would be a huge asset, and he's a very good player, yes. It's just the value, what the Cowboys are going to want. And Jerry Jones, he's going to drive that value up to like crazy limits. So I don't think that Brett Veach and Clark are going to want to pay Jerry what Jerry wants. So I don't see it happening in the end. But yeah, it would be a great fit. And he's certainly a player that I think could be used very well by Spagnuolo, and in this defense, it would make sense. The money's a little bit hard, and it kind of limits you otherwise. But I think really it's going to be the draft pick cost that's going to kibosh any talk of that. Coach Kyle. Okay, I'm with you. I like that one. What do you think of Clelin Ferrell? Noob Gaming. I like that one, by the way. Good handle. What do you think of Clelin Ferrell at 29? I think he's going to be there. I think he's a power rusher like this defense wants. I think he's a classic 4-3 D end. And I think he's got a good motor. I think he's got a little bit of spark. And I think he's a little more explosive than you expect. They didn't test it at the pro day the other day. So he's kind of hiding himself a little bit, which makes you a little bit nervous that maybe he's not as explosive as you think. But he's been really productive. And he went back his senior year and he put in a good season. And I think that kind of buys you a lot of that kind of thing, faith that he's going to be able to be a good pro. So I'm fully comfortable with Clelin Ferrell at 29. That was a great question. Ryan Stang, Darrell or Hyde at RB2. I think Hyde's going to get the first go, but I want to see Williams. That's just me. Jeremy Olson. Scrolled too far. Where'd Jeremy's question go? Trying to go back, Jeremy. Okay, any realistic free agents you like besides Trey Boston, which I agree with? That's really my focus right now. I don't know that there's anybody really impact outside of that. There are guys that can fill depth for sure, all up and down both sides. But I think that's in free agency, you want to make an impact. You want to fill a hole, probably in the starting lineup or your first guy off the bench, like a third safety kind of thing. So that's where I think the value is, and I think that's where they need to go. Alec Worley, you'll be okay with the Chiefs using a second-round pick on a tight end. Personally, I don't think so because I like some of the guys that are going to be there in the third and fourth. But if they do, I'm not going to throw a fit. We'll see what happens. I think tight end 2 is important, but I don't think it's more important than edge and corner. Would you be okay? Oh, that was the same question. Good job. Fat check. Think the Chiefs should make a move on Josh Gordon? No. They got enough trouble as it is. Coach Kyle, explain Ward being a number 4 CB. I don't see him being able to press. I think he's too thin. I think he relies on his recovery speed more than he should. And I think that teams, when they get more film on him, just like they did with Marcus Cooper, are going to find better ways to exploit him for whatever his tendencies are. So at this rate right now, without some serious maturation, I think that's where he is. The story got weird. Yeah, I'm not going there. Matt Blue, is Seth going to be on? Seth's on the podcast. This is the RGR channel. This is all me all the time. Seth's not on this one. He's on a couple days a week on Locked On Chiefs. He's our newest partner. Chris and I are on all day long, every week, every day. So thanks for your donation, Matt. Definitely check out Monday, Wednesday, Friday for Seth. That's the normal schedule, but it's not set in stone. Other thoughts on Rodney Anderson? Haven't looked at his film yet. Heard some good things, heard some detractions, so I'm not 100% on him. I will try to get to his tape before the draft, though. Are the Raiders the team to beat Jay Cruz? No. The Chiefs are the team to beat. Mahomes does that. With Derek Carr still running that offense, he's not going to overtake Mahomes. That team cannot overtake Mahomes. But I do like Mayock and Gruden working together, and I think Mayock is underrated. I think he's doing a heck of a job to get off to the start that he's doing in Oakland. Your thoughts on whether college players who played on turf in college can play as well on grass in the NFL? I think it's a transition. I think it's more getting used to. I don't think there's any physical limitation. So I think it's about them getting comfortable and getting used to having to dig in, playing cleats that are much deeper. It's a different feel. It's a different way of attacking the ground and really digging in. But no, I don't see any limitation for them. Clinton Petrie, Pat Pete, Grady Williams, and Matthew, LSU secondary. Yes, and Coach Miles is just down the street too. So rock chalk. Next question. Aaron Morrow, how are you? Where do you have Juwan? Juwan Williams from Vanderbilt. Long, tall guy, not super speedy. His change of direction is the only thing that bothers me. He reminds me of Sean Smith. I have him as a low second-round pick. But I'd be comfortable with that because the thing that Juwan does is he can use his body well. He can press the heck out of receivers. And when you're talking about going up against guys like Sutton in Denver, like AB in Oakland now, I'm all for getting physical with these receivers. So Juwan's got that tied down pretty instinctively, I think. Good question. Andy Isabella, second round. I'm not sure he's going to be there. If you guys are using the mock draft machine, I think it's a good tool, but I think some things are really off, and then certain players are really out of sorts about where they're going to get drafted, like Taylor Rapp. Taylor Rapp's not getting out of the 40s, folks. For those of you that are drafting him on the mock machine, and John and Joe Moreno, they're friends of ours. I'm just saying some things are a little bit off. Taylor Rapp isn't going to be there in the second round for the Chiefs. So I think that may be somebody that they go after right away. Should we get Ziggy Ansah? No, I don't think he has enough to offer at this point. Pringle in the slot, possibly, but like I said, I think he's got a lot of work to do. Music for life. Dieter in the slot. I think Dieter's an outside guy. I don't see him being that ultra quickness kind of change your direction guy. I think they need somebody shiftier. 88 flexing. Any chance of getting Dat back? I don't think so. I think it's kind of run its course, but Annie always surprises me, so I don't know for certain. Okay, Too Much Pain. Thanks for the donation. If Chiefs drafts a tight end high, is it to replace Kelsey, or will Andy pair them? He'll pair them. Kelsey's getting older because he was older when he graduated, and he missed that first season with the I think it was a knee. I think it was microfracture is what it was. So he's kind of had a late start. Even though he hasn't played that many seasons, he's a little bit older. And so I think he's getting to the point where you got to start thinking about having a guy that can back him up as it gets a little more grueling on his body. But no, not replacement at all. I think Travis Kelce has 4 or 5 good seasons, all pro seasons left in him. He has officially, for me, become the #1 tight end in this league, and I think he's got a nice run in front of him. So it would be putting another pass-catching tight end together with him to run 2 tight end sets. Good question, though, and I appreciate the donation. Ronak, good question again. Do you think the defense will be better after all of the signings? Here's the thing. Super good up front, bad in the back, really bad in the middle last season, right? I feel like a lot of that was because of Bob Sutton and the coaching staff. They're almost all gone now, right? I think between Spags and being able to tailor what you do to what the players do better, I think overall, even though you lost so much pass rush, I think overall you're spreading talent around the defense more and you're allowing it to do what it's good at. I think it's a plus overall. I expect this team right now, so long as they fill in the free safety and another starting corner, I think they're looking at being, a top 20 defense. Let's see. Jerry Cole, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. If anybody missed the breakdown, go check that out. It was just up the other day. I'm running behind. I'm trying to make videos whenever I can when I'm not doing film and everything else. So, Nighthawk, I did talk about DOD. Go back a little bit. I hope that they use him a little bit, and they may even, if they can't get a free, let Matthew play deep and start to play DOD and some safety stuff too. Let's see here. Okay, Joey, I answered your question earlier. I know you still want it. I don't know about Rodney Anderson yet. I got to look at his film. Colby Chastain, I wish I could. I can't. There's too many questions in here for me to scroll back up. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your question is again. David Angel Molina, do you think the deal will be any better right now than it was versus last season? Right now, there's still a couple of holes, so it's iffy. They still have work to do. So if they can get that done, I think they're going to be better. If they run into a wall and they can't get guys to fill holes, then yeah, it's going to be troublesome. David Haddock, if Veach moves up in round 1, what's the most realistic jump they can make? Man, if you pair a 2 with a 1, I think you can get to maybe 18, maybe a little bit higher. It all depends on who's willing to move. And I think at the very least, you're going to be able to get to 20. But here's the other thing. I don't know if they're going to have that many guys on their board as first rounders. Right now, I have 17. That's all I got. The Chiefs may have less. So I think a trade down is almost as likely. If everybody goes quick in the top 15 picks that they have as first rounders, I think the Chiefs could try to get some value and move back as well. Do you think? No, answered that one. Haddock, got you. Nighthawk, I did talk about DOD. John 2020, do you like Juan Thornhill? I do. I like his athleticism. I think he's instinctual. I've only watched 2 games, and this is the way I go about it. I either watch anywhere from 2 and 4 games, depending on time and depending how important I think it is. So he got kind of the lower end because I think he's a lower end guy. I have heard several sources say that he's not as quick on the uptake in terms of processing and understanding the defense as a lot of teams want. So I think he's going to be either a late round 3 or a day 4 or a day 3 guy, maybe 4th round. So that tells me if they feel they can work with him, then I think they're going to be in good shape and they can go after him if they want. Let's see. Okay, got your question. That's good. Any update on Denard? No, I have no information yet. My guess is that he's probably leaving town without a contract because of the Breeland thing. Got that. Cool Mars. Homebrew. Red Ale. Craig Murphy, the biggest need to address now that we have Breeland at CB. Whew. The biggest? People are comfortable with Ward. I don't know that the Chiefs are, and I would still be searching for that. But the biggest need I see on this roster right now is still a true free safety that can roam in coverage and let Mathieu do his thing underneath. And I really like, if you missed that breakdown, check out the film. I kind of stacked it all at the end of the last video, but check that out because he can do a whole lot. It's just, you got to give him a little help over the top for him to be as much as he can be, in my opinion. KC Warrior 24. Do you hear that the tight end Harry said that the Browns offense will be better than the Chiefs? I don't know what Harris is thinking. Next time he catches every ball in a season, he can talk to me. Other than that, I got nothing. You got to pump yourself up somehow, right? Big Boz, there are a number of players to trade up for. I just don't know what the Chiefs think who's worth trading up for. This is a great question. Ivory Bridgewater. Will Tano play? And should he? I think Tano couldn't do what Bob Sutton wanted him to do. I think Tano Passanio is a hand in the dirt, wide 9 defensive end. He is not an outside linebacker, and it was just too tall a tail for him to try to get there. But I think he might be Spag's secret weapon because Tano can line up wide. He's good off the go. He's not, super, super explosive like Dee Ford, but he's a guy I think he can be a rotational pass rusher that Spags can really find uses for. And I think another year removed, more coaching as a defensive end, I think Tano still got a role to play on this defense. Taylor Grant. Oh, hitting me with the theoreticals. Oh, I'm going to have to come back to that one, man. They signed a Sam linebacker, Jeremy Olsen, Damian Wilson. I haven't gotten to his film, but we will. I think Seth's going to do some of that too. Would you trade up for Josh Allen? Yes, I would. I have come up on my initial thought was that Josh Allen was a 25 to 30 guy. I have come up on that. I think he's somewhere now between 20 and 15. But because he doesn't play the run very well, because he doesn't have inside counters very much, I can't see going up beyond that for Josh Allen. But I do like what he does, and he does play really good coverage. So, yeah, awfully quiet on Sue. Sue's a mercenary, and I don't think that they want him on this defense. There's a lot of young, impressionable guys, and I don't think that they want to let Sue. They had some guys that were frustrated and everything with Peters, and Houston wasn't very happy at the end. A lot of that discontent, they wanted out of the locker room, so I don't think they're bringing in a guy like Sue. Would you be opposed to Bush, the linebacker, in first round? I would, Aaron Morrow. That's a good question. I don't think Bush is a first rounder. I don't think he can hold up in the run game. And as aggressive as he is, and I like that, I think he's not quite a complete guy. Devin White, sure. I would trade up to get Devin White. But Bush, no. He's definitely linebacker 2 in my rankings by quite a margin, actually. Let's see. I don't know anything about cheerleader tryouts, man. Not my gig. Do you see the Chiefs putting O-line in the mid-draft prospects? I do. A lot of folks are looking at Bradbury in the first round, but I think there's a number of guys, especially the Wisconsin dudes, a couple of Wisconsin linemen they're going to be there in the third, maybe fourth round that I think they could take use of. But the Chiefs have a lot of linemen and a lot of linemen that they like. Wiley, I think, surprised them. I think he's more versatile than most folks think. So I think they're in pretty good shape on the offensive line, especially knowing that they made the investment in McKenzie, and they got to get something out of it eventually. So I expect him to be that backup interior guy. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do because he's a mauler, man. I want to see them line up in an eye and run right behind him. Cool Mars, I wish I knew which edge rusher they're going to go after. I wish I could see the Chiefs board, but so far Mr. Veach hasn't gotten back to me on that. So I will let you know if he does. Mark Schuler, do you think that Chiefs are throwing down the gauntlet and letting players know that they are willing to pay top dollar for them as long as they are on the field? I don't know about a gauntlet. I think it's definitely a move away from people that are iffy. Injury history has them spooked because they got to get stuff done right now while they got the rookie contract for the quarterback and they got an offense that is hitting on all cylinders, at least so far. Next question. Jerry Cole. Sorry, I said it wrong. Happy about the pickups. Is our defense getting better or worse? It's getting more even. And I think a few more signings, a few more draft picks, it's going to get better. Right now, they've shifted away from the front and towards the back, and so I think it's still about even. I'm not sure about the linebacker pickup. That's what I have to do. So somebody made a donation and retracted their name. I'm sorry I missed you. I'm getting down to the questions. I'm trying to get through it. Claude Thompson, thanks for your donation. Aaron, I don't think K-Pass can be a Sam. I don't think he's good enough in coverage. And the Sam's got to do it first, and half the second downs he's got to be in coverage. So I don't think that's going to be his role. Eric Streeter, do you think the Chiefs will make one more splash signing via trade? I don't think they're going to trade. I think they might sign a couple other guys. I don't know if they're going to qualify as splashes anymore. I think they've done what they wanted to do, except for the safety spot. And I don't even know if people would consider, Trey Boston or a free safety a splash. So we'll take it. Coach Kyle, are we building an AFC West team with an NFC East mentality? There are people that can say that because of some of it. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the flash forward West Coast offense. It's going to be somebody that can adapt on defense. I think Spags is underrated in that particular aspect. So, no, I don't think we're quite going NFC East, but good question. Ivory Bridgewater, I think Burflicht has slowed down, and I think you can't ignore his character. So, Burflicht is not coming to Kansas City. Okay, we're thinning out, folks. I'm not going to talk about Tyreke Hill because I don't know anything more than you do. When I do, I'll let you know. Paris Campbell, good question. I think he's a guy that I have as a question mark target on. Taylor Gant, Zach Allen in the second. Is he worth trading up in the second? Zach Allen is not worth trading anything for. I think he is going to be very challenged athletically in the league. He's a workhorse guy, and I respect that. I don't think he has the physical capability to be anything more than a rotational player in the NFL. Don't stress out about Tyreke. Tyreke Hill is going to be what it is. We'll find out when we find out. Jerry, thank you. I appreciate that. Anthony Taylor, if we get 2 decent cornerbacks, should we draft one? If they pick up another experienced corner that they feel can play outside and is good enough that they're comfortable, they'll hold off. They could wait till the 3rd round, maybe even the 3rd day to pick up a corner, but they would still add one. I'm fairly certain. But if they were to get comfortable, I think that might let them back off of that where they can concentrate on edge rusher. Definitely would look at a trade up in that situation. And safety, and then the wide receiver spot. So I think there's depth for wide receiver and tight end pretty much all the way down the draft too, for guys that you think you can plug in. And the offensive side is pretty stacked. So we'll see. But good question, and thanks for the donation, Anthony. When are you working with Brit Chief? You know, we're trying to get the thing because he's like 8 hours ahead of me where we can do something. We're still trying to plan and find the technology that will let us talk back and forth and do something cool for you. But me and Brad, we're solid on trying to make sure that we do something. I am going to do one of their episodes for one of the old Chiefs games on the Arrowheads Abroad podcast here. I don't think we've scheduled an exact date, but I'll be on with them too. And we'll have those guys back on the Locked On Chiefs pod as well. What do you think of Connor McGovern at guard from Penn State? New Gaming, good question. In the 5th round, I think he's a value. I think he can do multiple things, and I like the guy. So, you know, I don't know that it'll last that long, but I like him there. When do you get Rapp, Aaron Morrow? I think you trade back and you can get him in the high 30 picks, 38, maybe even 40. I don't think that you can go much farther than that. And I think Rapp's a guy that they like. I've heard it from multiple sources in the media and otherwise. Above all else, Jason Austin, who do you want in this draft? You know, if picks and trades were no obstacle, I think Sweat is a guy that can play both the run and be an effective edge that can really change things. I do like him quite a bit. So far, he's really the only guy that I would want to trade around for. Everybody else has some weaknesses. Byron Murphy, if they're going to play zone, Byron Murphy I would trade up for. I just don't know if they're gonna. I still feel like press man is the way this team does its best job. And I feel like because of his aggressive nature, that's what Spags is going to want to do too. Good Lord, we're at almost 50 minutes. Folks, we're going to wrap this up here in a minute, but I see that there's more questions. I'm going to run through these real fast. Eric, no news on Sherman yet. Jason, that's the guys that I want. I'm still building my list. Ivory, where do you think Tillery should go? I think he'll probably be late 1st round, early 2nd. I'm not sold on him. I think there's other guys in the 2nd and 3rd round that can do a very good job for this team too. Rocky Sin from Curtis Douglas. I think he's a good, like, high 2nd round guy. I think he'll be in the top 50, maybe top 40. He's limited in terms of change of direction. So that's a little bit of a concern, as well as his long speed. But I think he's a guy that plays intense. I think he plays the press great. And if that's the direction you're going, he would work here. What do you think? Oh, I already answered that. Cool Mars, Arizona Cardinal defense reunion. Yeah, hey, it could be. And I wouldn't have any problem with it. And I think Dave Merritt coached them all. I think that's a good one. So, Anthony Taylor, thanks for your donation. What do you think of Darrell Henderson and David Montgomery? Henderson's intriguing. Montgomery's got a lot of miles on him. I don't think running backs a particular position that this year that they need to look at before day 3. So I don't think that they're going to make a big move there, but you know, we'll see what comes. If they make some signings and move some other priorities around, you never know. So we'll see how it all comes down. Ivory Bridgewater, do you see Speak starting? Yes, I think that's their intention. What do you think of Adderley at free safety? I think he's the number one free safety. I don't know if he lasts until 29. That's the problem. Who do the Chiefs pick at 29? I think it might be one of the corners. I think Greedy or Baker might fall that far. I don't know. Or it could be an edge rusher. And there's definitely going to be wide receivers there. So there's options. Let's see. Nighthawk, Jordy Nelson. I heard the rumors. I don't think I have anything else to add until we know something. Sorry about that. Do you think Veach watches Chiefs content like this channel? No, Lolith, I don't think Brett Veach has any clue who any of us are. I'd be impressed if he knew all the names of the beat reporters, to tell you the truth. I think Brett Veach does what he does, and he's got his thing. I would love to talk to the guy at some point. In fact, I'm going to send some of my analytics over to the Chiefs and see what they think of it. But yeah, I think he's got his own thing. I don't think the media is any concern for Brett Veach. Let's see. What do you think of the Chiefs almost having Honey Badger and Earl Thomas? Horde, I talked about it earlier. I think that would have been the premier safety tandem in the league. And I think it would have been nearly unstoppable in the pass game. So, what do you think of the sweat stuff to get him to drop? You know, his heart condition was diagnosed, but they let him work out. So it's there, but it's probably minor, but it may get sweat down into the 20s. And I think that's something viable for the Chiefs. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Quarters in the draft. Yep. Good to see you and all of you. I appreciate that. And Aaron, thanks for your questions. Eric, same thing. Thanks for your questions. Is Love worth a second-round pick? I'm not sure, Rodeo, who you're talking about. Give me his whole name. Robert, thank you for that. Cool Mars, good evening. Folks, cheers to all of you for hanging out. We broke 500 tonight. Haven't done that since the in-season. So I'm glad you guys are pumped up about there's a lot of options. We'll do it again Monday night, just like normal. Julian Love, rock and rollio. I'm glad that you brought him up. I think he's a second-round corner. I don't think at 29 he's in play, but definitely in the 50s and 60s, I think he'll be around. Got to see his testing time. I don't think he ran the agilities at the combine. So I'm really going to be interested in his pro day, and I'll let you know when I have an update on that. So, hey, thank you all. Looks like we're winding down. So thank you guys. I appreciate all the time and all the donations tonight. Keep your questions coming. Check out the Locked On Chiefs podcast if you're not a subscriber already. It's on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. We talk about the Chiefs 5 days a week. If something happens, we're going to let you know about it right away. We're going to have reaction. It's a little slower on the video thing for me, so just check that out. Keep coming. Hit the RGR if you want the hats and the coffee cups and all that. So appreciate all of your time. I'll have a video for you later this week, and I'll talk to you then. Have a good one.